It's wonderful to be back with you with yet another lesson. And today we are going to look into the Subsidiary Alliance, which was a British policy of annexing Indian territories through peaceful means. And if you are logging on to my channel for the first time, this is Mehjabin Hussain. In my classes, I have been covering lessons on Indian history. Do check out my other videos here. The Subsidiary Alliance was a method of peaceful annexation. Through this method, the British took over the lands of the Indian rulers without fighting any expensive wars. The Subsidiary Alliance was also called as the Treaty of Subsidiary Alliance. It was a policy designed by Richard Wellesley, who was the Governor General of India from 1798 to 1805. Wellesley designed the policy of Subsidiary Alliance because he was an ambitious man who wanted to make Britain the most important power in India. This policy was a strategic one, and its main objective was to bring India under the control of the British. The Subsidiary Alliance or connection was formed between the British and any Indian ruler who wanted British help from external or internal attacks in his kingdom or state. According to the terms of this agreement, the British would provide protection to any Indian ruler, but only under certain conditions. Now let us look into the conditions for Subsidiary Alliance. One of the most important conditions of the Subsidiary Alliance was that the British would permanently station their troops in the territory of the state which has entered into a subsidiary alliance with it. The Indian ruler who would be taking protection from the British under the terms of this subsidiary alliance would have to pay for the maintenance of these British troops in his territory. If an Indian ruler was unable to pay, a portion of his territory would be surrendered to the British. A British resident officer was kept in the court of the Indian king. The Indian king was required to pay an annual amount for the maintenance of the expenses of this resident officer. Any Indian ruler who entered the Subsidiary Alliance with the British did not have the freedom to employ any other European for his service without prior permission from the British. The Indian ruler also could not form an alliance or relationship with any other Indian ruler without taking the permission of the British Governor General Lord Wellesley. The Indian ruler also could not declare war on another ruler without consulting the British. The British were acknowledged as the highest power in India, and the Indian ruler had to accept them as their overlords. Now, one very important thing we need to note is that the British called the Indian rulers princes. According to the agreement of the Subsidiary Alliance, the British would supply troops and help the prince if he was fighting a war with another power. Since the British troops were militarily stronger, this offer of protection by the British was an attractive one to the Indian princes. Now, the Subsidiary Alliance had a lot of benefits for the British. So, point by point, we'll look into the benefits. The most important one is that the British were able to expand their territories, maintain large enemies at no expense, and gain control of several states without fighting wars. The system also enabled the British to fight wars far off from their territories. the presence of a British resident officer in the court of the Indian prince also meant that the British could control both internal and external affairs of the subsidiary state. The subsidiary alliance also removed the threat of any European rivals to the British, as they were excluded from the courts of the Indian rulers. Moreover, the British could at any time overthrow the Indian ruler and annex his territory by declaring him inefficient. This alliance had a lot of disadvantages for the Indian rulers. The signing of the subsidiary alliance meant that the Indian rulers or princes had to give up their freedom. The Indian rulers virtually lost all authority in external matters. They were now increasingly controlled by the British resident officer in their court. This officer would interfere in the everyday affairs of state administration. The cost of maintaining the British troops and the payment of subsidies to the British led to a heavy drain of resources of the state. The subsidiary alliance gave a false sense of security to the Indian rulers. Protected by the British, the Indian rulers or princes neglected the welfare of the people of their state. They no longer feared rebellions by the people who suffered under their rule. Since the subsidiary alliance put pressure on the state treasury and resources, the administration of the states suffered. The British then annexed these kingdoms on the pretext of misgovernance. Now let us look into the territories which were annexed by the British through the subsidiary alliance policy. States like Hyderabad and Tanjore were annexed by the British through the subsidiary system. In fact, Hyderabad became the first princely state to officially enter into a subsidiary alliance with the British. The Nizam of Hyderabad, who signed this treaty with the British, was Nizam Ali Khan, that is Asaf Jah II. In 1801, Awadh's fifth ruler, Nawab Saadat Ali Khan, signed the Treaty of Subsidiary Alliance with the English East India Company. The Peshwas of the Maratha Empire signed the subsidiary treaty in 1802 after a series of Anglo-Maratha wars. Bhonsle, Gwalior, Indore, Jaipur all came under the British rule through this alliance. And then eventually Udaipur and Jodhpur also went under the English East India Company through this subsidiary alliance. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end of this video. Click on the description below to check out the notes. Consider subscribing if you have found this content useful, and I'll meet you soon with another video. Bye.